Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome, excuse me, welcome to Cars and Coffee and Brake Pads. I guess I should put the smiley face up like that. Listen, it's getting me that time of year. We've got a lot of questions, people calling in wanting to know about the right brake pads. So I'm going to go through a little kind of primer to talk about how to choose the right brake pad for your application, and also tell you what those numbers mean on the back. Also, we're going to talk about adjustable sway bar end lengths. And boy, we got other stuff. We got some really great questions this morning. We're going to talk about the upcoming 3-day Transform Your Driving Experience workshop that starts on May 30th. March 30th. I'm getting ahead of myself. The sun's shining. It's nice outside, so I'm thinking the wrong month. March 30th. And of course, I got questions, and you can always send in questions for me to answer live. If I can answer them, I will. If I don't know the answer, I'm not very good at BS, so I'll just tell you I don't know the answer, or give you some of my thoughts anyway. So boy, I don't know where to, the artwork this month is Dan Gurney again. This has got to be one of my favorites. It's Dan Gurney at Le Mans, 1965, driving into the sunset. And if you look close, you can see he's got his hand up, shielding his eyes. You can see he's got a Rolex, and remember the lace driving gloves of the 60s? How do I know he's driving into the sunset? Really easy. If you notice, the headlights and driving lights are still covered. That's what we do in endurance racing, is you cover your driving lights, at least back then, until you absolutely have to have them. That way, when you take the covers off, it's nighttime, they're nice and fresh and clear. You don't have a lot of gunk and oil and dirt on top of them. So that's the art for today. And where should we start? Why don't we start with a few questions? We've got some really good ones this week. And okay, first we got to do a really big shout out to Rory. We were having trouble finding a right rear spindle for Roy's NASA AIX Cobra. He was in an accident, and they're the scarce as hen's teeth. And we were looking for any kind of spindle that maybe we could take and build our own. Rory actually found what he thought was a left rear spindle. When it got here, it was actually a right rear, exactly what we needed. So that's a big shout out to Rory for helping us out. Anybody else, if you see any SN95 Cobra rear spindles, let us know. We'd like to try to collect them, but they're just so hard to find. See, Rory also said he's looking to purchase a new Explorer ST, and was wondering if I had any thoughts on the handling and abilities. I don't exactly, because I've never driven one. But what I can tell you is the Ford Performance Group put a lot of effort into the entire Ford Performance line, which includes the ST Explorer, the ST Edge, the ST Focus. They put a lot of effort, and they've got better suspension and everything. So I would think it would be a really nice package. I know some people at Ford Performance. I wonder if I can talk one of them into coming on sometime and talking about that. I'll have to dig into that. Rory has a lot of questions today. Also, he's updating his stocks with a 2000R steering rack. He wants to know if it's the correct move for a quicker steering ratio, and quicker isn't always the best plan. I think the other way. I think that's a great steering rack. I highly recommend it. We use it, and you need a quick steering rack, especially if you're doing performance driving. If you need to make a quick adjustment, would you rather do this or that? So yeah, it's a great steering rack. You made a great decision. I'm not sure what it means as the possible power rear steer assist, if beneficial. I don't know if he's talking about like right foot throttle steer, like making the car slide. If that's the case, we never want a car to slide. We want the car to hook up, get grip, and go. And also the pros and cons of cages for street and track. I'm not a fan of cages for the street because they're really not necessary. For the track, it depends on what your car you have. He's concerned about his head banging off of it. There's a lot of different ones out there. You just have to look and see if there's room. On track, you've always got a helmet, so your noggin's going to always, kind of be protected. But on the street, you just want to be sure that your head isn't anywhere close. For the S197s and 550s, we use a really great 4-point roll bar that packages real well. There's no head interference. You're just going to have to look and see what makes sense. They're good for the track, and it's a nice extra safety measure, particularly in older cars. Newer cars, we've got options. We do have to think a couple of the SN95 street cages that we built left. That would be a rich question. So moving right along. Okay, Mike wants to know, does adding bump steer correction kit change the amount of static camber you should run? No, it has absolutely nothing to do with camber. It has to do with steering. Here's a stock tie rod end. Okay, now this is the OE quality forged bump steer tie rod end that we use. And you can see it's got an extended shaft, which is what we want to do. We want to try to get the bump steer, try to make the tie rod parallel to the lower control arm. This is the one we use. And a lot of people have like rod ends went out there, and I'm not a big fan of that, at least for S197s, because you got a rod end, and most of them don't use very good quality, and they rattle, and you have to play with adjusting it. That's really simple. You bolt it on, it's greasable. So it has absolutely nothing to do with camber. It has everything to do with bump steer. Let's see. Mark White had a question, but we set up a 15-minute consult. He got his answer. Ernie, I'm not sure what the question is. Boss fuel injectors, changing cold air, throttle body, and intake manifold. As far as I'm taking a stab at what he's wanting to change, cold air and throttle body and that sort of thing. The Boss is a great package out of the box. It's got a great intake manifold. I mean, there's other ones available, but mostly any other intake manifolds for drag racing. The Boss intake manifold is great. And all we did, like on my car, is we put our JLT cold air kit on. We put headers, high flow cats, and for the street, and then we took them off to the track. We had them interchangeable, and then 3-inch stainless exhaust at the back and race mufflers. And you do that and get a tune, you're making 440 to the wheels, which is like over 500 flywheel, which that's a great engine package. You don't have to change injectors. Cold air kit is good. Throttle body, there's not a lot of gain, let's say, to just putting a throttle body on. Sometimes people put too big of a throttle body on, and it actually reduces runner velocity, because it opens this great big thing, a bunch of air comes in, and it kind of tumbles around. So, I mean, just cold air, headers, a good tune. You're running 440 to the ground, 500, 510 flywheel. That's what I use in my track cars. And we've done quite a few Boss like that. We've actually taken some GTs and put the Boss intake manifold on and tune them that way, and it makes great power. Let's see, I think Christopher's going to push off to next week. Here's one great one from Steve. To balance or not to balance race tires? Balance. Balance. If you don't, you got two things are going to happen. Either the steering wheel is going to go like this, or the car is going to start going like that. It's rotating mass, and if it's rotating mass, it's got to be balanced, and it has to be smooth. You upset rotating mass, and bad things happen. Absolutely balanced race tires. I know the real race tires, like the Pirelli Slicks that we use for World Challenge, they're a lot lighter than like street tires. And some people think that because they're so light, they might not be balanced. Maybe that's your thought. Balance, absolutely balance. If you watch Formula One, you can think back, and some of the drivers complain about a vibration, and they go in and get the tires changed the way they go. You don't want a vibration, because that's when they lock a wheel and get a flat spot. This is Omar. We're going to end the questions with Omar. Any more questions, please send them in. Omar says, hello, Omar. On my Pro 4R race calipers for S197, can you upgrade to a 15-inch rotor? Will it be beneficial? here's the thing. We never put any thought into a 15-inch rotor for the Pro 4R brakes. And the reason is it's a race brake setup. And in racing, most series use 18-inch race tires, which means an 18-inch wheel. So you could squeeze, a 15-inch rotor into an 18-inch wheel if the right type of wheel. But man, you're putting that rotor, that hot rotor, just really close to the wheel. And if a rock gets up there and caught, you scar the wheel. So a 14-inch is what we use. That's what I recommend. I mean, they're great brakes. I mean, they've got, for the rotors, there are spec rotors. So like 7 pounds lighter than a regular rotor. They got more fins. They cool better. They got, it's kind of a mini floaty rotor. So yeah, it's the other one though, that my perspective on the Bear 6R versus my Pro 4R, what would be better in terms of performance on track? What would Kenny get? Well, I'd get my Pro 4Rs for sure. Here's the thing: the big difference between my Pro 4R race brakes and the Bear 6R race brakes is there's 2 big differences: price, actually 3: price, weight, and the number of pistons. By using a 4-piston rotor, a 4-piston caliper, we cut weight out, and we also we chop a lot of weight out of the caliper itself in non-critical areas to lighten that up. But here's the thing: the Pro 4R takes the exact same brake pad profile as the 6R, 6-piston race caliper. The difference is the 6-piston race caliper, the thickness on the brake pad is 0.71, which is kind of standard. It's HB 122 pad in Hawk. Well, the Pro 4R takes the exact pad profile, but the brake pads are an inch thick. They're 0.98 inches thick. So there's a lot of advantages to run the Pro 4Rs, and that's why we developed them. I wanted to come up with a really outstanding brake package at a really outstanding price. And to get the kind of features that we offer, you got to spend a lot more money. And like I say, it's just we've done everything to make that the best brake package available. So, okay, zip through the questions. Now I get back to my sheet. Oh, you know what? I don't even think I said who I am. This is Cars and Coffee, and I'm Kenny Brown. And, okay, Carrie's holding up a sign. The sign says, oh, I just completely, I got so wrapped up in brake pads and adjustable end links. I'm going to spend the next hour, 50 minutes now, sharing with you, some of my knowledge and experience from a lot of years in professional motorsports and building great cars. And, I'm here to answer your questions. I mean, that's why the whole reason we started Cars and Coffee. And everything I'm going to talk about today came from questions to the Speed Therapy Society. If you're not a member, please join. At the Facebook, there should be a linky thing somewhere. If you like what we're going to talk about and you need to share it with a buddy, please share. Or there's a little clicky thing that you can start a watch party and invite some people, because it's going to be pretty interesting what we talk about today. Speaking of which, where are we? Okay, I talked about I remember we showed some pictures of Cliff's number 44 World Mustang Challenge car that I actually engineered back in the Mustang Challenge days. Well, I was looking for pictures the other week, and we could not find them. Carrie looked, she couldn't find them. Brad couldn't find them. Well, I just went through all my pictures and I had them, but the folder was stuck in another folder. That's why I couldn't find it. So we got a few cool pictures we're going to share with you from that. So let's see. Why don't we touch on the 3 before we switch my page? The 3-day transforming your driving experience workshop starts on March 30th. Well, March and May have the same first letter. March will start on March 30th. And here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, this is from my perspective, and I've been building really cool cars and championship winning race cars for years. And we're going to talk about how I do it. And we're going to talk about the first 5 critical steps to improving your driving experience. Then we're going to talk about my 5 secrets on building great cars, whether it's a street car, track car, or race car. And then we're going to talk about building a performance platform. dialing in the car for maximum performance, refine your driving techniques. So it's going to be, I mean, I'm going to try to give you as much as I can in a short amount of time. And it's, if you don't get enough information or you're just thirsting for more information, please consider joining the next Speed Therapy Academy, which starts April.
I think it's April 12th.
It starts like the second week of April. So the Speed Therapy Academy is, if you don't know, it meets twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 o'clock. Oh, the Transforming Your Driving Experience workshop is 7 o'clock, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And you can register in the comment section. But in the academy, I go really, we'll take 1 week and we'll just talk about one subject. It's kind of like I stand here and I kind of empty out my brain and share a lot of information. And the cool thing is every week we call it immersion session because we immerse ourselves into a specific topic. That there's a PowerPoint that goes with that. That PowerPoint lives in the archive section. So the Academy members have access to that all the time. You can go back and review what we talked about. And they also have bonuses, like they get to audit any special events or things that we do. They get the option to audit it. Plus, they get pre-bedded brake pads. We'll talk about that too. Well, maybe that's my lead into brake pads.
Yeah, it could be, but I want to interrupt you just for a moment, like I always do.
Yeah.
So talking about the workshop, I don't think I've shared this with you yet. And you really haven't signed off on it, but I'm signing off on it. How's that sound?
Okay, I think this is what you call a pressure move. She's telling me in front of you, so I don't have a choice.
Yep, that's the way it works.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway,
what we're
going to do is for the 3-day Transform Your Driving Experience workshop, we are going to give away 1 scholarship to the Speed Therapy Academy. Wow. So, but you have to participate, and if you come on, register, and then come on the first day, and we'll explain some of the things to earn that. So we're going to give away again 1 scholarship, and that's like we $2,600
gave away a scholarship to somebody in the first academy, and he was blown away about how much he learned, and he was eternally thankful. Okay, let's kind of like, we got all that out of the way. Let's get to the real stuff. Let's talk tech. Brake pads. Okay, this is, as luck would have it, this is Christopher's brake pads just came in yesterday and are getting shipped out Monday. So I borrowed them to show you. But the current brake pads that we're using, we've shifted over. We traditionally use Hawk racing pads, and for hardcore racing on some applications we would still use Hawk, but we switched over to G-Locks for our track guys for 2 big differences. Number one, they're really easy on rotors, and secondly, we can actually order them pre-bedded. As I say, like the Speed Therapy Academy alumni, they order brake pads, they're pre-bedded for free. What does pre-bedding mean? Well, when you get like a race type pad, you have to bed them. Essentially, what that means is you waste a full session the first morning, because you have to speed brake until you get up to speed, until you get the brakes really hot, so hot that you smell them, and so hot that when you put your foot on the brake, it's hard as a rock and the car doesn't stop. Then you take it in, you let the brakes cool off completely, and next time you go out, you got brakes. So by getting them pre-bedded, it saves a whole session. But how do you choose which brake pads? See, that's a lot of people don't understand that brake pads are compounded in a specific target temperature range. If somebody wants to sell you track pads and they don't tell you what the temperature range is, don't buy them. You need to know. You've got to get, if you get we've seen people get a really aggressive race pads and go to the track, and their car will moan going around the corner. One of our alumni in the academy, we do this kind of video driving coach thing at the end, and I heard his brakes, and I told him right away that he's got too hard of a compound, they aren't getting hot enough to work. So you've got to get the compound matched to the temperature they're running, and so that you get the best working out of them. If you got a hard brake pad and it's squeaking, it's too hard, too high temperature range. If you got brake pads that burn up in 2 sessions, the temperature range is too low. So, how do you know what temperature range? Well, that's a pretty good question. Call me. I know what temperatures these things run at. How do I know that? Well, yeah, we'll bring it. Uh-oh, you're gonna have to take down your banner. Okay. Okay. You can see in this rotor, it's got red paint. That paint is actually brake rotor temperature paint. What happens when it comes to this nifty little thing, and just a little jar of brake paint, what happens is it goes through different temperature ranges to color changing. And it comes with a nifty little card, so you can see, but I did, we kind of blew that up. So you can see that, I got this out so I can read and show you at the same time because I can't read backwards. Okay, so it starts at red, and it goes from 0 degrees up to at about, let's say 700 degrees. It starts going from red to red-brown. Now, when it gets up to about 800 degrees, it'll go from red-brown to brown. When it gets up to 1100 degrees, it'll go from brown to yellow-green. And when it gets to like 1350, it'll go to green. When it gets to 1470, it goes to beige. And, over 1400, over 1500 degrees, it'll be beige. My brakes typically run in the 1200 range, well, for track driving. So I have brake pads that have the optimum braking in that 1200 range. And as far as brake pad compounds, let me kind of tell you, I mean, if you want some recommendations, please set up a 15-minute consult and talk to me. But I'll just give you kind of a brief overview of how many different compounds we have. And some of the temperature range crosses over, but there's different characteristics. So but we start out for a street pad, and this is like most performance street pads, they're good up to 800 degrees. Well, my rotors run 1200 degrees on track. So obviously I'd burn them up. The next level up goes from 0 up to 1000 degrees, which is kind of like, it's good initial bay. It's kind of like maybe an autocross type brake pad. And that's a kind of brake pad. You could drive it to the track, but it not recommended to drive it every day because it's not going to generate enough heat. And then the next level up goes from 74 degrees up to 1250. And that's kind of a good beginning brake pad if you're novice, intermediate, because typically you're not going to be, you haven't really learned how to really lean on the brakes yet. I also use that compound for a rear compound and for the track people. And then the next level up is from 118 degrees to 1475. Now, I'll use that both for front and some back. Herstifer, that's what he wanted, so that's why I wrote the numbers on the back. You can see it goes from 118 degrees to 1475. That's the heat range. Now, his back ones are the compound before, and they go from 74 to 1250. So I always put like a less aggressive pad on the back because the brakes, don't use the rear brakes as much as the front. So that's kind of like a track day pad. But, the next level up is, somebody that's an advanced driver who really drives hard. The compound goes from 173 to 1860. That's a lot of temperature. And then the next compound up on the chart actually goes from 210 to 1400. Huh? Show them?
Yeah. Let me see it again.
What chart?
You're talking about the chart.
No, talking my chart.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Talking about my brake compound chart.
Sorry about that.
It goes to 1400 degrees, but it's really designed for more like a lightweight, low horsepower car. And then we could get into like totally serious race brakes. The next one up goes from 255 to 2000. And the next one up from that goes from 610 to 2100. So, I mean, if your brake for first the 610 to 2100, you want to be in that 1500, 1600 range of brake temperature, so that you want to be right in the middle of the temperature range, because that's when you're going to get your best performance. And remember, I said, to bed brakes, it takes a full session, and that's kind of like one of the bummer things of putting new brake pads in, but getting them pre-bedded. And also, these pads are super easy in rotors. And don't forget, with high temperatures, you need a high temperature brake fluid. Absolutely, positively need a high temperature brake fluid. And I bleed my brakes every day at the track. I like fresh brake fluid because I don't like hitting walls or trees. So let's talk about sway bar adjustable end links. We've got a full range. Let's see, this is for S197. This is for 550. This is for SN95 with our control arms and our front sway bar. And this is for IRS Cobras. So what's the purpose, and do you need adjustable sway bar end links? Well, they serve a couple of purposes. If you have a race car and you don't have like ABS that kind of does the brake thinking for you, if your sway bar is preloaded, like if to get you're hooking your sway bar up, but to get the one, you put one side in and put the other side in, maybe you have to pull it down and stick it in. You're preloading your sway bar, which means at some point you're going to lock up the front tire. So by having adjustable sway bar end links, you can make sure that it's totally negative, that that it slides in and out when you hook them up, and that way it's not preloaded. The other thing is you can also like adjust the geometry a little bit. Now, when you lower your car, let's say you're up here, you lower your car, and what happens is the strut stays where it is, but lower control arm moves, and the sway bar, when you lower the car, the sway bar move. It's kind of a way to get the sway bar a little more parallel to the ground. If you lower the car, it goes up. So you can shorten it up and get a little more power. It doesn't have to be parallel. In my mind, I just think it looks better that way. It probably gives you better range of sway bar too. So, I mean, they're important. If you're a serious driver, have a performance sway bar on, you need sway bar adjustable end links. And I mean, at the very least, have one so that you don't preload your sway bar. Your sway bar isn't preloaded at any point. Oh, you also want to only hook your sway bar up when the car is on the ground and weight is on it, so you make sure that it's neutral. Another little tip, I don't really recommend scaling cars for track day guys, but for a race car, in scaling it, you always want to unhook the sway bars when you scale the car, because you want to get the true weight per corner. So, we've moved through a lot of things. Also, on your brake pads that get hot, brake ducts. We've got brake ducts for SN95, SN97, and 550. And those have been with me before know that I exclusively use 3-inch hose, just simply because for SN95 and 197s, we can kind of squish a 3-inch tube down to oval. And because of that, it goes to demonstrate it. I don't know if we do that. Let's see. Okay. We'll go up here. All of that air goes exclusively into the center, the eye of the rotor, because rotors cool from the inside out. So that's why I use the 3-inch. There's like a lot of 4-inch kits out there, and if you look at it for a 4-inch, part of the inlet hits the face of the rotor, part hits the eye, and the air tumbles. It doesn't flow cleanly into the eye, and also it makes the inside rotor temperature less than the outside rotor temperature, which could mean uneven brake pad wear. Did I get through everything?
No, you forgot about the memories and time.
Oh, memories and time. my gosh, Cliff's car. Okay, I'm going to need some assistance for this. Like I say, I was looking, I knew that the pictures had to be somewhere, and I just started looking through all the different folders in my computer. Bingo, I found it. So here we go. I'm ready. So here's Cliff's car, Mustang Challenge in Mustang Challenge trim. I think Ed, I can't remember his name, drove that car in the Mustang Challenge. Ed Lever, maybe? I got to go back and check my notes. But here's the cool picture I was looking for. Next. At the 45th Mustang anniversary, we did a promotion for Ford where we had Scott Pruitt and Tommy Kendall driving our cars, the Speedworks cars. I was the engineer for Speedworks, and then we had 3 Mustang Challenge Mustangs. So they had Scott Pruitt and Tommy Kendall, which was kind of cool because I had worked with both of those guys in the past. It was nice seeing them again. And then we got the next slide. He was driving. Oh my goodness, it's Cliff's car. Scott Pruitt was driving Cliff's car. And so I thought that was kind of cool, a nice piece of like Mustang or our memorabilia. And then the next one, okay, that kind of shows this like Peter in front. I'm right behind Peter. Paul, my son, late son, is on the left, and mechanics are behind the car. And we're obviously having a meeting talking about setup. Paul was there. He actually drove M69. He was driving M69 and giving rides, and he just was blown away by just how good M69 handled. I mean, he had done a little bit of development testing for me in the beginning, and he got to drive it when we did a few more things. He loved it. And that's the same AGS 4.0 that we have for all the S197 Mustangs now. So he was part of my development in doing that rear suspension. And the last picture, who's that tiny person in the middle? That's Kerry with Scott Pruitt, and it just lets you know how tall Tommy Kendall really is. I mean, he sort of has to pour himself into cars. He drove, among other things, he drove my 96 Red Rocket for the Car and Driver 0 to 150 to 0 article, and he loved it. He just thought it was a great handling car. So like my cars work. Anybody's ever driven one will tell you. Anybody has my stuff will tell you. So anyway, that's a little trip down memory lane. Now I think I've gotten through just about everything. I'm surprised. I had so much to talk about. So do we have any questions coming up?
Yes, we do.
You got any more questions, just send them in. I'll do the best I can to answer them.
You definitely had your coffee this morning. You flew through those questions.
Yeah, I kind of, once I start talking tech, I got it kind of wound up. People that have been around for a while kind of know that.
Okay.
I just get excited. I love talking about stuff, teaching people stuff. That's how I do Cars and Coffee, the workshop, and also the academy.
Looks like Jay Myers was the first one to sign up for the 3-day Transform Your Driving Experience
Go,
workshop.
Jay.
And Jay has he's pre-registered for the next academy coming up.
Oh, cool.
Too. Yeah. So that's really cool.
Looking forward to see you there. Because the academy is on Zoom, so actually I see everybody that's there. It's not like this. We do Zoom, so everybody can participate.
Okay, so some of these questions I think you've already answered, but I'm going to, J.I. Andrew asked, best pads for track days.
Okay, it depends on where your level of driving is. If you're a novice, like your first outing or two, or even up to intermediate, the 74 to 1200 would be good. If you've got a few more track days in you than that, then we'd move you up to the 118 to 1475 temperature range. Cause my rotors run 1200 degrees, just like clockwork. And if you've got a super fast car and advanced, then we could move you into the 173 to 1800 range. I mean, those are kind of like the 3 track day pads And whatever we do on the front, we do one lighter compound on the back. So, I mean, if you want to call in and talk to me about your car and your driving, I'll come up with a pad for you. And remember, we can get them pre-bedded, which saves a whole session.
And that's kind of interesting too. Just schedule 15-minute. There's probably a link on the in the comments right now where you can schedule 15-minute. And Kenny would prefer that you get the right pad than not, so he'll take the time to help you out with that. Okay, the next one is, I believe this is from Robert. Should I upgrade my SN95 Mustang anti-roll bar assembly? It seems okay, but I really want my car to corner as well as it can.
Okay, the answer is kind of yes. If it's an SN95, I mean, we've got a really good K-member package that fixes the geometry. Also, springs and shocks are the best way to improve performance. And we've got the option. What we've done is I like coilovers. I mean, everything I do is coilovers. Why? Because we can just ride height. Secondly, it gives me a big range of different spring rates to run. And for those that have got coilovers from me, they know that the coilover comes completely assembled. You know, the springs, everything is put together, and with a pre-adjustment, and then some recommended adjustments, some sort of basic how to adjust your shocks. Plus, it comes with my experience in adjusting shocks. I mean, you can call me when we talk about adjusting your shocks. But we've got a package for SN95 that it's my custom valving that I have built for me by Strange. It's a double adjustable front and either double or single adjustable rear, but most of the time it's single adjustable. For the back, I don't have suspension for the back yet. We had a really nice suspension before I took time for health, and we haven't brought that back because it was one of the biggest pain in the butt products we had. There's on Fox and SN95, there's so many different exhaust systems, and it's really tight back there. There's limited real estate, and no matter what we do, people would say it's banging, it's rattling. We couldn't build them for every single exhaust system. Plus, people never read the instructions. And the key to when we had the panel bar on the 197s in Fox is that you had to have rear parallel of the rear panel bar was just like in 197s where we moved the panel bar down the bottom differential to bring the rear roll center down. We use that in that to bring the roll center down because the roll center is like up in the trunk if you do the math. And roll center is, keeps the car from rolling and gets you around a quarter better. But the problem is that the panel bar has to be dead nuts neutral. It has to be no preload on it. And people really wouldn't pay attention because the car has to be on the ground, full weight on the car, full weight on the ground. And there has to be you can slide the bolt in and out with no problem. A lot of people would adjust it up in the air and put it down, and it would preload and it just wouldn't work. So we haven't brought that back. I've got something I'd like to do in a year or so. But for right now, we just have a front. What we do a lot of is the IRS in the back. We're the only people that really support IRS Cobras or IRS Mustangs. We got a lot of guys putting IRS cars into both SN95 and Fox. So that's getting me really popular. We've got the full package, and nobody else knows IRS is like we do.
And we're actually aren't we testing something, a conversion IRS into the Fox?
Actually, we're looking at modifying what we do when we do our. we got 4 levels of upgrades to the IRS, and the last level is we do a complete geometry change. The pickup points come off and they get put back on in different spots. So I improve the rear geometry significantly. And what was I saying?
You're talking about the Fox.
Oh, Fox. I was talking about geometry. I forgot the question. So complete geometry package. But what happens is we put in the back, we take this great big clunky bracket that bolts to the frame in the back. We cut that off and chuck it. And we put a bracket that's a flat plate that bolts directly to the frame rail, which completely stabilizes the IRS carrier. Well, they've been for SN95s, but we have so many people doing Fox that we found out there's the holes are different for like where the quad shock mounts on a Fox. So we're right now we're working on a template to put an extra hole in there on the bracket so that it'll work on a Fox too, just bolt in without having to drill. So that's in the works. Or we saw a need and we're reacting to it. There's a lot of people putting the IRS in Fox, and it's a 95. And I tell you, the IRS in the back and my front suspension, you talk, and in the spring and shock package, you talk about a car that handles. I mean, it'll blow you away just how well that handles and the great manners that it has.
Okay, so and Joe's in the audience. He had the Cobra with your whole suspension on it too. Okay, so here's the next question, and this was from Rory. This is a continuation of the question you asked earlier, giving you more information. Because I was talking about the full four-wheel steering, like using a rack and pinion in rear for assisting steering. Remember that?
That's great for parking a car or for street cars. It's I've never ever used it or seen it used on a race car. You have to be pretty sophisticated to get the electronics right. It's got to be electronic steer, and it has to be pretty sophisticated to get electronics right. I can tell you that I'll give you a rear steer example. The SN95 IRS Cobras. I discovered down at this, I can't remember what year it was. We were down at Road Atlanta with Ford Racing doing a demonstration. They built some SN95 FR500 cars with double wishbone front and the 5-liter FR500 motor. And what I found is like at the other end of the Road Atlanta, the second right-hand turn, every time I get the one spot in the turn and the back would start to get loose. And the same thing happened going under the bridge. Just before I had a little squiggle in there. So by the time you hit the bridge, you're flying. I get this at the same spot every single time. So I went back and we plotted the geometry. And what I found is that as the car got to a certain degree of roll, and don't ask me because this is a long time ago, when it got to a certain degree of roll, both rear wheels steered in the wrong direction, which is why the car got loose. If I'm making a right-hand turn, you get to a certain point of roll, and both rear wheels steer left, which makes it loose. That's why we've got two fixes for that in our phase 1 kit that has the forward torque brace and the aluminum diff bushings. We also have a rear steer kit, which takes not all of it, but a lot of that rear steer out of the car. When we do the full geometry change, then we take all the rear steer out.
That's for the IRS.
So, but I don't like rear steer. I mean, I've felt what rear steer does, and I don't like it. That's why I fixed it. But no, I just stick with. To me, my opinion, the back just needs to go straight, and the front needs to steer. Back pushes, front steers.
Okay, here's our next question. Christopher has a question regarding brake pads. How that works? He thought that the idea of bedding is to have pad material on your brake rotors. How does this pre-bedding work?
Okay. Pad material on your brake rotors. I don't know if the rotors are shiny. They're really shiny. If you get material buildup on the rotors, they chatter. It's not so much what you're doing when you bed pads, you're evacuating all the volatiles that from the compounds, when they compound all the volatiles that are trapped in the brake pads, and you got to get them up to operating temperature so those volatiles evaporate out. That's what I say when you're bedding a brake pad, it gets to a certain point, and it smells, you smell the pads, the pedal's hard as a rock and doesn't stop. That means you pretty much got all the volatiles out, and it goes. I don't know about putting material on the rotor. What you do though, if you got new rotors, you've got to season them almost like it's bedding a brake pad, but not. It doesn't take as long. You've got to sort of, if it's a brand new rotor, you have to sort of introduce the brake pad to the rotor. You don't want to go out and just bam, hit the brakes, because the rotor goes scare the daylights out of it. So you need to just do some braking, medium braking, just keep braking, and it doesn't take long before you get the rotors kind of used to the brake pads and get up to temperature. So I don't know about the compound. I don't want compound on it. I want compound on the pads, not on the rotor.
And can you season and break in the brake pads together, or is it best to do it separately?
Yeah, no, you just have to. Well, if you're bedding pads, you can do them both at the same time. You just have to start slowly and just keep working up, because the whole idea is to work up to operating temperature at like a kind of like a stair step up. Like I say, never want to go out with brand new rotors, brand new brake pads, and just stab the brakes. What happens is they get all excited, and they kind of like they poop themselves. And what happens is the brake pads wear out really fast.
Let's see. Here's another one from Herstifer. Let me read his. Oh, I just lost it. Okay, one moment. We'll go to Wendy since I can't find Herstifer's. Wendy, there we go. Got some questions about an independent rear car, not a Mustang. It's a major competitor. Will Kenny talk to me about it?
Yeah, I'll do what I can. Wendy, remember we talked about high temperature radiator caps. I use them on the older cars, but for like the 197s, you get the silly screw-on cap that's supposed to be 16 pounds. It never is. I found the solution for you. One of our suppliers will build a reservoir tank for the radiator with a screw-on cap. So we can put like a 23-pound radiator cap on your car, but you just have to get the tank that's got the right neck on it. So yeah, I know I'll do the best I can. Talking to you about the IRS, just schedule one of the 15-minute things.
Okay, we have by the way, guess who is in the house?
Who is in the house?
Camposano.
Jim. Man, I haven't seen you for so long. Jim Camposano, and we go way back. We met him. This is like in the mid '90s. He was the editor of Muscle Mustang magazine. That's when they're still up in North Jersey, and we did kind of a joint event because they're all drag racers, and we did kind of an event. And he came to the event, and I taught him truck driving. And he thought it was such a valuable experience that he kept sending editors to me to be trained. We talked to Evan the other week, and he was one of the guys from Muscle Mustangs. But Jim's a really cool guy, and he actually, I remember this specifically, he did his first solo at a driving event at Watkins Glen. So how cool is that? So Jim, I'm really glad to see you.
And Jim, I just haven't gotten around to calling you, but we want you on the show. So how many other people would like to hear from Jim Camposano? You're pretty well known in the industry, Jim. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, for better and for worse.
Okay, Sal has a question. When the brake rotors cool down, does the brake paint go back to the cold color, or does it stay at the maximum heat color from the last run?
It stays at maximum heat, which is why people say they use come and use an infrared on the rotors. That's no good. I mean, that's only telling you what the rotor temperature is right now. What you want to know is what is the maximum temperature under hard braking, going into a corner. If you've seen like Daytona or Le Mans or some of those at night, the rotors glow red. They get that hot going into a corner. You want to know what the maximum temperature is so that you can get your brake pads correctly. The other cool thing is if you're at one level of driving and it comes up to, let's say, the second color, and you get better, then it'll change. So it doesn't go back to red. It stays the color of maximum temperature, and as you go faster and faster, it'll keep changing, so you can keep track of how your progress is on braking.
Okay. And here's just an interesting little question. And this, I want to make a comment. This is from Facebook user. So if you see your name as Facebook user, when we're pulling up these questions, that means you have not given authorization for your name to show. We're streaming through something called StreamYard, and it asks you at the very top of the comments if you authorize to use your name on the Facebook. So if you'd like to see your name, you need to authorize it.
Oh, this is a good question from Facebook user. He said, I love pads that are progressive, not ones which grab hard all at once. That's another thing about choosing the right brake pad. Brake pads, there's two things on how brake pads work is the initial bite and the modulation and release. I guess three things. And like a race pad, a hardcore race pad is going to have a tremendous initial bite. Why? Because racing, you're looking every 10th of a second you can get. You hit the brakes, you want boom, you want the car to stop now. In track driving, it's not that important. In fact, I teach people not to do super threshold braking. That means coming up in the very last second, standing on the brakes. Because first of all, it's not a race. Roger Penske isn't scouting in the tower. And you're going to wear your brake pads out. We had one customer up at Audubon that we built up his Boss Mustang for him. And he always let his mechanic drive. And he went through a set of brake pads in a day. Why? Because the guy went up to the corner and just nailed the brakes. And on a race car, you get one race out of a set of pads. So, but I do not only is it progressive pads that are progressive, but also how you use them. We talk about more of this in the academy too. Is I have a specific way of using the brakes that slows me down to what I need to get around the corner, and my brake pads and rotors last quite a while. But I'm still really quick on track. So yeah, progressive is good because it doesn't surprise you. Also, if you have too hard of a compound, one that grabs really quickly. Here's another thing I forgot to tell you. If you've got a really aggressive compound with street tires, not going to work. The tires also the type of tires you have also play into what brake pads you get, because you don't want super aggressive pads for street tires because they'll grab and the tires will just stop and you flat spot them. Sticky tires, grabby brakes.
Okay, here's the first question. He said, regarding end links, my dealer, when installed my front bar, said that I should run it full stop as my end links don't look strong enough to support it on stiff. Is that true?
I say no.
No?
If he's running the stock end links, Ford stuff is tough. The trucks are tough, the cars are tough. That's how we beat Porsche in 1987 with the Celine Mustangs, is because the Mustangs were tougher than nails. And we, back in the 70s and 80s, endurance racing is you drive hard for the first 2/3 and then really get to it for the last little bit of the race. And the only way we could beat Porsche is we just ran the absolute daylights out of those cars. We ran absolutely as hard as they would go, from green flag to checkered flag, which meant that those cars had to themselves run as hard as we did. And we snagged all 4 championships away from Porsche. Okay,
we have another question here from Facebook user. I think you can figure out who this one is. How did Scott do when he drove it? Remember? Thanks for the adder to the number 44 car history. Who do you think that is?
Gee. Listen, Scott Pruitt is an amazing driver. Anything he drives, he's good at. My first experience with Scott Pruitt was in 1987. Mosport, that's up in Canada, 24-hour race in the dark and light rain. He had commitments. He was driving, I think, with Steve, and he had other driving commitments for Trans Am that Saturday. He flew in. He got there late at night. He jumped into a car he's never been in before on a track that he wasn't that familiar with in the dark, and within, I'm going to say 4 or 5 laps, and then his times were right there. Just absolutely impressed the hell out of me. The guy can drive. No matter what he puts his butt into, he's going to drive it well. He's going to be quick. He's just like I say. How many times has he won Daytona? And hi to my family at home.
Here's another good question. I'm currently using an X-Pipe with Flowmaster dumps, and it's not very tidy. Do you have a favorite side exhaust kit for all-out racing?
Yeah, we actually. Why don't you call and talk to me about that? Because typically we build our own. There is one company that has. I like their side exhaust because it's flat. It's not a big tube, but it comes out and it's flat. And it looks pretty cool. A lot of NASCAR type guys use it. Give me a call and I'll try to remember who has that. But that's to be the only set. We typically build our own side exhaust. But that would be the one that I'd suggest, at least for the exit, because it's about that long and it's flat, which means it doesn't scrape on anything.
Okay, and we're getting into summertime, and lots of people have things going on Saturday. So these are for the people that are rewatching or finding it for the first time, the show. You can always find all the episodes, all 49 episodes.
We're up to 49?
Yes, 49 episodes on the Kenny Brown Performance TV YouTube channel. And we also are going to be playing it again on both Facebook page, our Speed Therapy Society Facebook group and the Kenny Brown Performance Facebook group later in the week. So you'll be able to view it then. Yeah,
because weather's getting nice. At least here, the sun's shining. It was like 60 degrees yesterday, 50 something today. I mean, in spring, young men's thoughts turns to fancies of racetracks.
That's good. Okay, here is another one.
Anyway, what I'm saying is,
sure.
You don't have to be here Saturday morning. Go play the racetrack and then watch it in the rerun.
Yeah, we get a ton of after viewers. So, and if you want to ask, you can't make it and you need to want Kenny to answer a question, just throw it on Kenny Brown Performance or on Speed Therapy Society. And
that's where all the questions I answered today came through the Speed Therapy Society Facebook group or the Kenny Brown Performance Facebook group.
Yeah, we got a few from that this week. Yeah. Okay.
So throw them in there. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help you learn.
So Kobe Ward has a question. Will spirited street mountain road driving need a higher temp brake pad than the typical street pad?
I'm going to say probably yes, but not too aggressive, because you're not really standing on the brakes, but you're doing like high speed. Something like that. Our level 1, the up to 800 degrees, might be just a ticket. You can call me on that. And if you're really, really fast, then the next one you could do too, but that's not really a street pad. So you want probably a better brake pad, but you don't want something too aggressive, because two things will happen. If you go too high in temperature and you're running at a low temperature, A, they squeak, B, they make dust.
Okay, let's see. That's me, Facebook user. Let's see. Kenny, this is from Cliffick, and that's me, Facebook user. Kenny, your Scott story made me smile. In the dark and the rain, no experience in the car, scary, impressive. Yeah,
he was. I mean, the other going back to the endurance racing that we did, SEC Pro Endurance Racing, is the other driver that really impressed me was Pete Halsmer. And every couple of years I see him at the vintage races here in Indy. But the thing about him is that he was so deliberate. I mean, he's just a really easygoing guy. He'd get into the car and it's like no panic. He just put his gloves on, make sure they're tight, and adjust himself, and come on, get going. And but as soon as he left the pits, I mean, he was a demon on track. So it was kind of really cool to watch.
Okay, and I think this is last call for questions. So this is your last call to throw in a question. Kenny, why don't you tell them a little bit about the Transformer driving experience that's coming up?
Notes.
You've done this how many times?
Yeah, I know. I got so many notes laying around this morning. We went through a lot. Today.
I know.
Okay, what we're going to learn is in transforming driving experience, you're going to learn the first 5 critical steps to transforming. You're going to learn my 5 secrets to building great cars that give you a great driving experience, because a great driving experience comes from a great car. Imagine that. And then we'll talk about, setting up cars, a little bit dialing in the cars for performance and some driving techniques. It's just a little bit of everything. It's kind of like a smattering of what we go into in super depth in the academy. Like we spent a whole week on just shocks, talking about shock absorbers. 2 weeks on aerodynamics, 2 weeks on suspension geometry. Oh, suspension geometry. Every session that we do, There's the PowerPoint is in the resource section for to go back and reference, except the geometry one. We talk about it, but because I share so many of my secrets, there's nothing in print. You just have to go by what I say.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. You're talking about Speed Therapy Academy now,
yeah, this is
and
the Academy.
that actually has its own website with its own portal, so you can capture everything.
Yeah, it's got its own portal.
Okay, so also with the driving, I don't see many more questions coming in. I just want to mention one more thing about the Transform Your Driving Experience workshop. We are, I guess you are giving away, not me, giving away a free scholarship to the Speed Therapy Academy. That is a huge deal.
I'm surprised. That's news to me.
That is a huge deal. So make sure you show up for the first one. Register now. The link is in the comments. Register now, and we'll see you at the first Speed Therapy Academy, or no, Transform Your Driving Experience workshop.
March 30th.
Yes.
7 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm-hmm. But you need to register. Yeah, you need to register. So, and be a Speed Therapy Society Facebook group member.
Yeah, you have to register you have to be in the society, because the society is like, this is a group of really like-minded people that, I try to, do as much as I can for.
Okay, that is it.
We wrapped up. Well, there we go. Now here's something that what I usually do is I turn down at the bottom of the page and I go, next week, what we're going to talk about and other our X's. So we don't know yet. That's why you need to tell me what you want me to talk about. We haven't decided what we're going to talk about yet, so send in tell me what you want to talk about, and we will. Or I'll just make something up. So listen, I'm glad you could join us this morning. I hope you learned something. Certainly share it with your friends. Don't forget the thumbs up thing and the buttons I always talk about. So listen, we'll have a good weekend. If it's nice here, I hope it's nice where you are. Have a good weekend, a good week, and we will see you either next Saturday morning or in one of the replays one of the evenings. So goodbye.